I was teaching the idea in leadership that we have to have a post-industrial mindset in our leadership. That we have to start thinking not about whether someone's giving me their arms and legs, which is important, but more, are they going to give me their mind? Are they going to give me their initiative? Are they going to give me their experience? Are they going to give me what I actually need in my business when things change? Will they take charge? Will they have buy-in, and will they take ownership, self-ownership of the projects, of the workload? Will they do that? And if I can lead them effectively into doing that, I can have a successful business. I was teaching that. I was teaching leaders that I don't want you to have an iron fist with the people around you. Instead, what I want you to do is let your leaders be free. I would have entrepreneurs come to me and say, Larry, I've got a problem with my team. My guys, my gals, they just aren't doing the right work. They're not having initiative. I put rules in place, and I said, that's your problem. What I want you to do is release those rules. Give them some freedom, and here's what will happen. Some of them will fail, but some of them will succeed. And those who fail, and you help them and mentor them through, will become more loyal to you and will actually do better. And those that succeed will now be empowered to succeed more. And those who were hiding behind the rules you created, those who always had an excuse, and Phil knows he's not in his head, it's the same thing I do, he knows. Those people will all of a sudden find excuses, they'll be found out for the frauds they are, and they will either change or they will leave. But either way, you are by default creating transparency. This is what I was teaching when I was talking to entrepreneurs, business owners. Some of you know I've been an officer in a public company twice, short periods of time. That's what I was teaching. When I was teaching sales, I was talking about, let's stop just flooding people with information. Let's get people to want to buy your product. Let's get buy-in. Let's get people to want to buy so you can tell others. This is voluntary. Get people to want to buy. Everything I was talking about was voluntary. Everything I was talking about was getting someone to have self-ownership. That's what I was talking about. That's the future. And then, in 2012, after I had almost given up on politics, just forgotten about it, said, there's no chance, it's not going to work, I heard Gary Johnson speak. Now, a lot of people tell me, well, what got them into the party was Ron Paul. I couldn't hear Ron Paul. I couldn't hear him. In 2008, I wasn't ready to hear him, and Ron Paul also wasn't an entrepreneur. But Gary Johnson was, and so was I. So him I could hear. I heard what he had to say. And the funny thing is, when I first heard him talk, I thought, what a radical. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Now I'm far more radical than he is. But when I first heard him talk, I thought, this makes sense. And then I went to a Libertarian Party event. I went to some of the actual events. The first one actually was in Queens, and I met that man right there, Mr. William Schmidt. He was talking about policy, and I said, that guy makes sense. I like that guy, he makes sense. It was at the beer garden in Astoria, Queens.
Yes.
You remember, right?
I sure do.
That's exactly right. Yes, I remember him. I thought, that guy makes sense. And I started to come to the party, and I started to become someone who supported the party. I thought, this is the right answer. I was already a libertarian, I just didn't know it. And there's a lot of people out there who are already libertarians, they just don't know it. But they need one of us, someone in this room, to just touch them to go, wait a minute, that makes sense. We need that small touch. I need all of you to be doing that. But I also need something else. I need you to help me do it. The idea of post-industrial leadership, the idea of post-industrial business is actually what makes businesses successful. People ask me all the time, they say, Larry, how in the world do we know that any libertarian can actually lead anything? They don't learn anything. How will we know they'll lead everything? And I say because almost every successful business that's being run right now in America is run by libertarians. And that's fact. All run. See, yes, run by libertarians. It's correct. Anybody remember back in the day, Google, back in the days, used to allow 20% of their workforce, 20% of their time, they could work on anything. Remember that? Or anything. The only rule was you had to tell your workers, the people you work with, your team, what you worked on the next week. That's it. What is that? That's freedom and transparency. That is literally what our party is about. It is freedom and transparency. And Google's been doing this for over a decade. So, say again?
Till lately.
Till lately, yes, exactly right. Yeah, well, they fall into the same problems, right? But the concept is the most valuable changes, the most valuable applications, the ones that made the most money came from this program, came from freedom and transparency. So what I've been saying for these last years that I've been out here doing this is we have to make sure government changes to follow what's already happening in the successful world out there, in the businesses that are already being successful. But it goes one step further, not just in business, also in school. My daughter's here. Barbara's right there, she's 13. I learned from her because in her world, all her kids, all her peers, they share. They share everything. I was at a college, I've done 6 or 8 colleges already, and every time I go to a college, I ask the students who were there, I said, you guys, how many guys in this room share your homework? The parents are around, they're like, but if the parents aren't around, all the hands go up. They all share their homework. And I said, when you were in high school, how many of you shared your homework? They all share their homework. My daughter shares her homework. This is a sharing world, a sharing economy. Why aren't we a sharing state? Why aren't we a sharing state, a transparent state? Why aren't we a state that allows each county to have freedom so that we can create value, so that we can allow our leaders who are hiding behind process to be kicked out, to be removed, and allowing those who are great to step up? This is what this state has to happen. And here's the funny part is, it's already happening. Every time I say things, people go, well, Larry, that sounds crazy. I say, no, it's already happening. This is literally government trying to go, no, I won't go into the future. I won't go. That's what it's doing. And we, in New York State specifically, are losing. We lost marijuana and hemp. We lost cryptocurrency. And now we're starting to lose already finance. You see it now as people you know New York City, we're starting to lose finance. That's going away too. Why? The lack of innovation in our state. The lack of innovation in our state, we're now starting to even lose finance. New York City lose finance, why have a city? Right? Finance is the backbone of New York City. And we're starting to lose that now. It's all going away, and we have to stop it, and we can. The idea is to understand, government has to shift into the new world. New York State can make that happen. We can make that happen. What I'm talking about isn't crazy. I'll give you a couple of quick ideas. Number one, school. I'll touch education real fast. Many of you heard me talk about education. I talk about breaking education away from K through 12 to K through 10. Yes, K through 10. K through 10, at 16, your kid now has the opportunity to make 4 choices. Choice number 1, go to a prep school. Some kids should be going to college. Absolutely go. Study that AP chemistry, study that advanced stuff. Go ahead, go off there and go to school. I love that. Go to college. Awesome. 2, go to trade school. We need trades. Go to trade school. But the problem with trade school, now we have them. We have CTE, we have BOCES. The problem right now is it is seen like, oh, you go to trade school. That's how it's seen. Oh, yeah, you can't get to college, can you? Oh. Yes, they do, because we've been told a lie that the only way that someone can be successful is if they spend 22 years in college and then go off and have a job. That's not the answer. That's an anachronism. That's not how it works anymore. Every one of us who's been to college knows there are people going to college who are 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, restarting their careers. The average person nowadays in this country is going to have at least 5 careers. Not 5 jobs, 5 careers. Yet we somehow think the answer is to spend 22 years in school and then all of a sudden go off and do some college. Not going to happen. Not the answer. It's broken. College should be for people who want to go to college when they want to go to college. Whether that's 18, 20, 40, 50. My wife is in her 40s. She'd be mad if I told you this. She's in her 40s, and she's going to college this year for her doctor to change her career. And that is common. And we should do that. K through 10. So, go to trade school. I'm okay with that. Because what you said is exactly right. Here's the funny part. We actually have right now to where we keep our kids in high school till 18, and for a whole bunch of kids, the last 2 years is taking gym, study hall, playing video games, smoking weed. That's the last 2 years. Now, after those 2 years of them doing that, they go to college. And they wonder why they're bad students. They spent 2 years with terrible study habits. Now they're bad students. So the average college student takes 6 years to graduate. So now they're 24. They're 24, never had a boss, and we wonder why they have no work ethic. I'm not joking, you know this is true. They're 24 years old, never had a boss, and we wonder why they have no work ethic. Well, because we made it that way. So how about when you're 60, you make some choices? Right? The other kid who does this, he's super smart. He then goes to his master's degree. He's 26. Now he has 6 figures of debt, and he's a barista at Starbucks. Yeah, you've seen it, so have I. Barista at Starbucks, 6 figures of debt with a master's degree. But the kid who was smart and went to BOCES as a plumber, he's 26, making 6 figures a year with no debt and has a house.
Not 6 figures.
That kid's doing his work. Now, am I saying it's better to go to college or better to be a plumber? No, I'm saying be free. That's what I'm saying. And maybe you want to be a plumber now and you want to be a doctor later. Maybe you want to be a doctor now, you want to be an EMT later. Maybe you want to be a policeman now and you want to be an EMT later. I don't care. Be what you want to be. But at 16, start thinking. So prep school, because the problem is you won't know this. Right now in college, the first year, it's 13th grade.
Yep.
You won't know it's true. I'm not making this up. It's 13th grade, because our kids are not ready for college. So, go to prep school so you're ready for college. Number 1. 2, go to trade school. Get a trade. Be a plumber. Be a carpenter. Go do something. Whatever you want to do, go enjoy. Option 3, go right to college. If you're that kid who can go to college at 16, go. If you're that kid, some of you should, go. Or option 4, get a job. We have laws in the books, again, back from the industrial days. We have child labor laws from the industrial days. We're scared. What is that, 6-year-old get caught in a loom? Is that going to happen? Die in a bobbin factory accident? Is that going to happen now? Stop. This is a fantasy. If you're 16 and you work 40 hours a week, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to make a lot of money. That's the worst thing. Who cares? Go work. And I have kids tell me this. But Larry, you want me to make my decision at 16 years old? Yes. But what if I make a mistake? Make it at 16, not 26. Make that mistake at 16. And decide you don't like being a plumber and you want to go to college. Guess what? When you go to college, you'll be good at it. How do I know? It was me. Many of you know I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17. I was a terrible high school student. And I mean terrible. I barely passed high school, and the only reason why I actually didn't just drop out is because my recruiter told me if I get my high school diploma that I can guarantee me a job in the Marine Corps. That was a lie, but that's okay. He still told me that he would guarantee me a job in the Marine Corps. So I went back and I got my high school diploma because of that. I'm talking D's and C's when I got out of high school. Barely graduated high school. I went to college when I was 20. Why? Because after a couple years in the Marine Corps, I was disciplined. I then knew what I wanted, and I went to college. And I went from being a C or D student to a 3.7 GPA average while I was a full-time Marine and a full-time student. Not because I'm super smart, because I was dedicated. I was ready.
Hoorah.
Yes, and there are many of us out there. You should be doing that. This is a sea change, a real reform in education. This is reform that should be happening. And to be clear, it's already happening. My daughter's school, she luckily, I'm very happy, she got into Columbia Secondary School in Manhattan. Thank you very much. Yes. Her last 2 years of high school, she'll be taking college classes at Columbia. It's already happening. It's not like I'm making this stuff up. It is already happening. I'm asking us to get on board now. Get on board and absorb it. And not just that, stop acting, to your point perfectly, that because someone wants to go into the trades, that they're somehow less than. They are not. They're not only not less than, they're more valuable. We need them. And we need someone at the top saying, don't just go to college. Go to college because you want to go to college. But if you don't want to go to college, go be happy first. Go to college later. College should become something that is set for anyone who wants to change their career, whatever age that might be, and the odds ought to be at least 4 times. At least you're going to college now too, aren't you? There we go, she has finished, and she's no longer 18. Yes, again, this is a common thing, it's already happening. Someone's got to say it, but we won't. Our answer instead has been, raise taxes, give free college. That has been our answer. Raise taxes, give free college. Let's make college even less valuable. So we just did. Let's make college even less valuable and keep lying to our youth and telling them that's the answer, and then bribing them to stay at this state. They have to stay here, or they have to pay the money back. That's been our answer. That's a shame. But it's the second piece on education. I hope I touched that well enough for you. There's also college. College is run by the Board of Regents. The Board of Regents has to go away tomorrow.
Yeah, buddy.
The Board of Regents decides what college degrees will be given. It decides what teachers have to have for their credentials. It decides all that, and it should not. It should not none of it. It can be a repository if it wants to for information. I have no problem with that. It's okay. We don't need centralized control. It doesn't work. Let me ask, there's people here with gray hair in a room like me. How many of you in this room went to school in some way, shape, or form before 1980? I did. So lots of us. Great. Now, the Department of Education only began what it is in 1980. It existed before, but it was really just a repository. It didn't really have any teeth. It began to have teeth in 1980. But somehow all of us went to school before 1980. We learned. Somehow we did okay. Right? Somehow I did. And I've taught as a guest instructor at both Yale and Columbia graduate level. And somehow I did okay without DOE. DOE is not required, shouldn't be required. The Board of Regents is not required. It must go away. The answer becomes, of course, always though, but Larry, certain schools will fail. That's okay. We'll learn. Transparency will get better. Right now, the entire state's failing. I want it to not fail. Now let me talk again, if I could, about business. Small business is key to speed. It is critically being destroyed in this state. When I am governor, I will create the Office of the Repeal, and I will begin to focus on regulations and rules that specifically target small business. Particularly talking about simplifying the tax code. Simplifying the tax code. Here's what we know. And my friend Alex Merced gave me the perfect example of this. Simple games means more people play. He talks about Uno versus Dungeons and Dragons. Uno is a very simple game. If I said, hey, let's play some Uno, we'd all want to play. But not only is it a simple game, it's a fun game. We'd all want to get involved. No one has to worry about reading rule books. And on top of it, it's very easy to know if someone's cheating. I put down a red 2. If you put down something that's not red or a 2, you're cheating! Done. Awesome. But now Dungeons and Dragons. Gotta read the books, gotta have referee, who knows who's cheating, I don't want to play, it's confusing. That's our tax code. If our tax code was more like Uno, more people would play, which means we keep revenue going up in the state without raising taxes. More people would simply comply. But not just the people comply. Organizations would comply. Complex tax codes means big business gets around it because they have the resources to find the loopholes. We found it again and again and again. That's why Amazon didn't pay any taxes. That's the reason why. Complication means big business does not pay, small business does, and they go to jail. Simplify the tax code. Second piece, regulation and licensing. Here's my general rule on licensing. Would you ask your friend to do it? That is my rule. Would you ask your friend to braid your hair? Don't get a license. Would you ask your friend to walk your dog? Don't get a license. Would you ask your friend to remove your gallbladder? Say no. Would you ask your friend? I know. Would you ask her? Say no. Thank you. Get a license. There you go. Get a license. That's my general rule. Change that and make it simple, because what licensing does is it is a tax on the poor and the disenfranchised.
That's right.
That's all it is. It's a tax on the poor. We will end that. And the saddest thing in the world I will ask you, what in the world does a bureaucrat in Albany know about a black woman's hair in Harlem? Not a thing. He knows not a thing. And that's my point. And he shouldn't. It's okay. The people who are starting dog walking businesses aren't millionaires. The people who are starting a hairprinting business aren't millionaires. They're people who have problems, who have trouble getting jobs, they're felons, they're people who have bad credit, they're people who have gone bankrupt, they're people who have problems, and we tax them. We make things worse. That has to go away. And the last piece is wages. We need to let restaurateurs pay their people what they want to pay them. That's what we must do. That's critical. We start doing these things and we can keep New York State small businesses and get them to grow more and more and more. The next one, of course, is prison reform and bail reform. This is a huge issue. We need bail reform, and we also need recidivism reform. We have a lot of people getting back into jail again and again and again. We can overlap these things, but it is already happening. There's an idea we can use right now, which is taking someone who is a felon, and if they're hired by a small business, 50 people or less, what we can do is have them pay no payroll tax 2 years. Now you might say, but Larry, wait a minute, if we do that, then they'll just like hire felons every 2 years and then pay payroll tax. Awesome! They're hiring our felon force. Please do that. They're training our felons. Yes, great idea. I hope you get that model. What a wonderful model that would be. That'd be awesome. Please do that. That'd be great. I want to do things like that to encourage small business, to encourage the idea that we need to be a nation of second chances. We need to be a state of second chances. Because you failed once doesn't mean that you can never get back on your feet. Most of you know my own personal story with my mom. My mom was a drug addict. My mom was a convicted felon. And I saw her when I got out of prison. When she got out of prison, when I got out of prison, she literally had 2 plastic bags. That's all that was remaining of her life. 2 plastic bags, garbage bags. That's it. That was her entire life. I had to help her get her back on her feet, and I remember how she felt. She had to lie on every single form because she knew that if someone knew she was a felon, she couldn't get a job. And when she got a job, she was a hostage because she couldn't say anything. If anybody found out that she was a felon, she was fired. And because of that, we started our first business. That's why I became an entrepreneur. For that, I had to. So the things I'm telling you, I've already been teaching. The things I feel about affect me personally. My father was a corrections officer. I know about corrections officers. I know many of them. And when I meet them, they say things like, Larry, I feel like a zookeeper. So they tell me, I don't want them to feel like a zookeeper. I want them to feel like corrections officers. I want them to make corrections, make a difference, and get people out of prison and back on their feet. We can do that. They want it, we want it, everybody wants it. We can do it. I feel this in my heart. I do. I know I've been long-winded tonight. I apologize. I have a habit of speaking a lot, I know. But I just want you all to understand, this isn't just talk for me. This is how I feel in my heart. It's why you always see me speaking with no notes. You guys have been watching me talk about libertarianism, those who've been following me, for 2 years. You watched me debate. You've watched me talk in the media. You've watched me give speeches. And when do you see me use notes? I don't. I don't use notes because I believe this stuff. I don't use notes because I believe in this stuff. I don't use notes because I don't have to rethink it. It's already in me. It's already in me. We can change New York. We can make a difference. Thank you so much for your help.
There you go.